Hi friends, in this video I have selected another 10 verbs. Out of these 10 verbs we are going to make 10 sentences, and out of these 10 sentences we are going to practice 480 sentences. Isn't it? Keep practicing. The more you practice, the more perfect you are going to become, the more confidence you are going to get, the more easily you are going to ask and answer questions. So don't lag behind. Let's move on to the next verb. The next verb is enter. E-N-T-E-R. The sentence is, he enters data. He enters data. He doesn't enter data. Does he enter data? Doesn't he enter data? He entered data. He didn't enter data. Did he enter data? Didn't he enter data? He will enter data. He won't enter data. Will he enter data? Won't he enter data? He is entering data. He isn't entering data. Is he entering data? Isn't he entering data? He was entering data. He wasn't entering data. Was he entering data? Wasn't he entering data? He will be entering data. He won't be entering data. Will he be entering data? Won't he be entering data? He has entered data. He hasn't entered data. Has he entered data? Hasn't he entered data? He had entered data. He hadn't entered data. Had he entered data? Hadn't he entered data? He will have entered data. He won't have entered data. Will he have entered data? Won't he have entered data? He has been entering data. He hasn't been entering data. Has he been entering data? Hasn't he been entering data? He had been entering data. He hadn't been entering data. Had he been entering data? Hadn't he been entering data? He will have been entering data. He won't have been entering data. Will he have been entering data? Won't he have been entering data? Now, this takes us to another verb. This verb is explain. E-X-P-L-A-I-N. Explain. Let's make a sentence out of this word explain. She explains clearly. She explains clearly. She doesn't explain clearly. Does she explain clearly? Doesn't she explain clearly? She explained clearly. She didn't explain clearly. Did she explain clearly? Did she explain clearly? She will explain clearly. She won't explain clearly. Will she explain clearly? Won't she explain clearly? She is explaining clearly. She isn't explaining clearly. Is she explaining clearly? Isn't she explaining clearly? She was explaining clearly. She wasn't explaining clearly. Was she explaining clearly? Wasn't she explaining clearly? She will be explaining clearly. She won't be explaining clearly. Will she be explaining clearly? Won't she be explaining clearly? She has explained clearly. She hasn't explained clearly. Has she explained clearly? Hasn't she explained clearly? She had explained clearly. She hadn't explained clearly. Had she explained clearly? Hadn't she explained clearly? She will have explained clearly. She won't have explained clearly. Will she have explained clearly? Won't she have explained clearly? She has been explaining clearly. She hasn't been explaining clearly. Has she been explaining clearly? Hasn't she been explaining clearly? She had been explaining clearly. She hadn't been explaining clearly. Had she been explaining clearly? Hadn't she been explaining clearly? She will have been explaining clearly. She won't have been explaining clearly. Will she have been explaining clearly? Won't she have been explaining clearly? Let's move on to the next verb. The next verb is fall. The sentence is, it falls unnecessarily. It doesn't fall unnecessarily. Does it fall unnecessarily? Doesn't it fall unnecessarily? It fell unnecessarily. It didn't fall unnecessarily. Did it fall unnecessarily? Didn't it fall unnecessarily? It will fall unnecessarily. It won't fall unnecessarily. Will it fall unnecessarily? Won't it fall unnecessarily? It is falling unnecessarily. It isn't falling unnecessarily. Is it falling unnecessarily? Isn't it falling unnecessarily? It was falling unnecessarily. It wasn't falling unnecessarily. Was it falling unnecessarily? Wasn't it falling unnecessarily? It will be falling unnecessarily. It won't be falling unnecessarily. Will it be falling unnecessarily? Won't it be falling unnecessarily? It has fallen unnecessarily. It hasn't fallen unnecessarily. Has it fallen unnecessarily? Hasn't it fallen unnecessarily? It had fallen unnecessarily. It hadn't fallen unnecessarily. Had it fallen unnecessarily? Hadn't it fallen unnecessarily? It will have fallen unnecessarily. It won't have fallen unnecessarily. Will it have fallen unnecessarily? Won't it have fallen unnecessarily? It has been falling unnecessarily. It hasn't been falling unnecessarily. Has it been falling unnecessarily? Hasn't it been falling unnecessarily? It will have been falling unnecessarily. It won't have been falling unnecessary. Will it have been falling unnecessarily? Won't it have been falling unnecessarily? Let's go to the last one. The last verb is estimate. The sentence is, Ramesh estimates the cost. Ramesh estimates the cost. Ramesh doesn't estimate the cost. Does Ramesh estimate the cost? Doesn't Ramesh estimate the cost? Ramesh estimated the cost. Ramesh didn't estimate the cost. Did Ramesh estimate the cost? Didn't Ramesh estimate the cost? Ramesh will estimate the cost. Ramesh won't estimate the cost. Will Ramesh estimate the cost? Won't Ramesh estimate the cost? Ramesh is estimating the cost. Ramesh isn't estimating the cost. Is Ramesh estimating the cost? Isn't Ramesh estimating the cost? Ramesh was estimating the cost. Ramesh wasn't estimating the cost. Was Ramesh estimating the cost? Wasn't Ramesh estimating the cost? Ramesh will be estimating the cost. Ramesh won't be estimating the cost. Will Ramesh be estimating the cost? Won't Ramesh be estimating the cost? Ramesh has estimated the cost. Ramesh hasn't estimated the cost. Has Ramesh estimated the cost? Hasn't Ramesh estimated the cost? Ramesh had estimated the cost. Ramesh hadn't estimated the cost. Had Ramesh estimated the cost? hadn't Ramesh estimated the cost. Ramesh will have estimated the cost. Ramesh won't have estimated the cost. Will Ramesh have estimated the cost? Won't Ramesh have estimated the cost? Ramesh has been estimating the cost. Ramesh hasn't been estimating the cost. Has Ramesh been estimating the cost? Hasn't Ramesh been estimating the cost? Ramesh had been estimating the cost. Ramesh hadn't been estimating the cost. Had Ramesh been estimating the cost? Hadn't Ramesh been estimating the cost? Ramesh will have been estimating the cost. Ramesh won't have been estimating the cost. Will Ramesh have been estimating the cost? Friends, in my next video, I'm going to teach you 10 more verbs, and along with these verbs, we are going to learn 10 more sentences, and along with those 10 sentences, we are going to make 480 sentences. How? One verb, one sentence. One sentence equals 48 sentences. 48 sentences into 10 verbs equals 480 sentences. Friends, you may subscribe to my channel in YouTube. To subscribe, please press here. Follow me on Twitter by clicking here. Want to follow me on Facebook? Click here to like my page.